What unfolds when a CEO immerses himself in the depths of his own warehouse, only to be disheartened by the treatment of his youngest employees? Logan Sanders stood by the expansive window of his corner office, hands tucked into his pockets, gazing out at the skyline. His father had created this company from the ground up, and when Logan took over 3 years ago, he vowed to uphold that legacy. Yet recently, an unsettling sensation lingered. Deliveries arrived behind schedule. The rate of employee turnover in the warehouses reached unprecedented levels. Customer grievances were accumulating. 8 warehouses dotted the state, yet it was the one on the west side that had been drawing his focus for all the wrong reasons. He remained skeptical of the glowing reports that continually came from the warehouse manager. Not everything aligned perfectly when the figures told a different story. Logan felt compelled to witness it firsthand. He made the bold choice to go undercover, an experience completely foreign to him. As the warehouses expanded significantly, over the years, the majority of the staff had never encountered him face to face. They wouldn't even notice the CEO if he strolled right by them. He trimmed his typically tidy brown hair a bit shorter, let some rugged stubble grow, and donned a pair of sturdy glasses. He selected a simple pair of jeans, sturdy steel toe boots, and a grey company t-shirt. At the West Side warehouse, he registered as Luke Simons, masquerading as a new temporary employee brought in through a familiar agency. The manager hardly lifted his gaze from the cluttered desk as Logan entered the room. "Another one, is it? You have a clear path ahead of you. Request Foreman Blake," he mumbled, dismissing him with a casual wave of his hand. Logan furrowed his brow and made his way to the loading docks. The warehouse loomed large, an expansive arena resonating with the sounds of its vastness, lined with towering shelves that reached up to the ceiling. The distant sound of forklifts echoed through the air. Workers moved energetically, clipboards in hand and pallets stacked high. He discovered Foreman Blake to be quite approachable. A robust man in his 40s, Blake bore a constant scowl carved into his rugged features. He shouted commands at a group of young employees, most of whom had just graduated from high school, causing them to flinch with each word he uttered. "You, Blake," pointed an accusing finger at Logan. "Are you the newcomer?" "Indeed, sir," Logan replied, with a composed demeanor. Blake let out a derisive snort. "Excuse me, are you a member of the Boy Scouts? We don't engage in that nonsense here. Stay focused, follow the instructions, and perhaps you won't become an obstacle." Logan nodded, suppressing a retort. He was present to watch, not to reveal his identity. He dedicated the following hours to meticulously stacking boxes, loading trucks with precision, and assisting in the careful sorting of inventory. The labor was challenging yet sincere. The dishonesty lay in Blake's treatment of the younger workers. "Hurry up, come on." Blake snapped at the 2 anxious teenagers grappling with the weighty box. "What do they send me now, a bunch of weaklings?" One of the kids, a skinny boy with shaggy blonde hair, accidentally dropped a box. It was far from delicate, yet Blake charged over. "You're worthless, Finn," Blake yelled, his voice sharp and cutting. "Perhaps it would be better if your mother continued to prepare your lunch." The boy blushed, his gaze shifting to the floor. Logan's fists tightened, a knot forming in his stomach. He had anticipated encountering some level of inefficiency, perhaps even a touch of laziness, but not this outright bullying. During their brief intermission, Logan found himself seated next to a young woman named Emily Andrews. She appeared utterly drained, her brown hair hastily gathered into a disheveled ponytail. "Does it always happen this way?" Logan inquired softly. Emily cast a swift look around, ensuring that Blake was not in sight. "Some days are more challenging. He enjoys targeting the newcomers, or anyone who appears weaker than him." "Is there anyone who informs management?" Logan insisted. She let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. "Warehouse managers and their colleagues support one another. Concerns simply vanish." Logan sensed a heaviness pressing down on his heart. He perceived it distinctly now, the fissures within his organization that reports had always concealed. As the day wore on, he observed Blake demean, scold, and shame the less experienced employees. Logan observed another colleague, a robust young man named Daniel. who discreetly assisted others when Blake's attention wavered. Daniel offered quiet words of support, helped carry burdensome boxes for kids in need, and positioned himself between Blake and a girl who was on the receiving end of his anger. Daniel received no additional compensation for that. He acted solely out of a sense of righteousness. As the shift drew to a close, Logan's thoughts were in a whirlwind. He could no longer endure another day of feigning ignorance about it. This needed to be resolved, and tomorrow he would ensure that everyone recognized precisely who he was. The following morning, Logan made his way back to the warehouse prior to dawn, the atmosphere still heavy with the lingering early mist. The loading bays hummed with the soft growl of incoming trucks. He donned the same unadorned uniform, his body aching from the toil of the previous day. Each step echoed the ambience he had observed, a realm governed by dread rather than admiration. By the time Logan stepped into the morning huddle, Foreman Blake was already issuing commands, his voice cutting through the warehouse with sharp authority. "We have 3 shipments to unload by noon," Blake exclaimed. "I prefer not to have anyone lingering about. If you're unable to maintain the pace, it's best not to return tomorrow." The workers shared knowing looks yet remained quiet. Logan observed Emily absent-mindedly rubbing her wrist, a faint wince crossing her face. With a brief nod of encouragement, Daniel shifted his focus to the tasks that lay ahead. Blake gestured towards Logan. "Welcome aboard. You're assigned to Truck 2. If you make a mistake, you'll be tasked with cleaning the bathrooms for a week." Without pausing for a reply, Blake pivoted and marched away. Logan let out a slow breath. He made his way to Truck 2, where pallets laden with hefty boxes stood ready. Daniel stood ready, adjusting his gloves with precision. "Are you prepared for this?" Daniel inquired, his tone unwavering. "Indeed," Logan remarked, hoisting the initial box onto the pallet jack. "Thanks for yesterday," Daniel said with a casual shrug. "You're there to lend a hand whenever possible, aren't you? Not everyone is solely focused on their own interests." They coordinated seamlessly, transferring boxes with precision and efficiency, every movement purposeful. Logan observed Daniel's quiet determination as he protected the younger workers from Blake's fury, shouldering additional burdens and guiding them away whenever Blake was in close proximity. As the clock approached mid-morning, Logan caught sight of something that churned his stomach. A young woman named Mia, barely 19, was exerting herself to maneuver a heavy cart up a gentle incline. Blake noticed her, strode over, and rather than offering assistance, he delivered a swift kick to the bottom of the cart, sending it lurching forward and almost toppling over. "Is that really the best you can do?" Blake curled his lip in disdain. "Perhaps you might want to focus on painting your nails, darling." Mia's face flushed with a deep shade of crimson. She faltered, struggling to contain her emotions. Logan released the pallet jack handle and walked over, his heart racing. "Hey," Logan said, his voice slicing through the clamor of the warehouse. Blake pivoted, gaze sharpening. "What do you mean?" Logan maintained a steady tone. "There's no reason to treat others in such a manner." Blake moved in, the scent of coffee and cigarettes lingering on his breath. "A situation has arisen, newcomer." Before Logan could respond, the warehouse manager, Rick Holloway, approached with a casual demeanor. A tall man with slicked back hair and a clipboard tucked under his arm, Rick wore a self-satisfied expression as he surveyed the scene. "Something's off here," Rick drawled. Blake promptly adjusted his posture. Just a few newcomers not contributing as they should. Logan understood that each moment he remained in disguise only contributed to further harm. He reached a conclusion. "Yeah," Logan remarked, removing his glasses and extracting the agency badge from his shirt. "Something feels off. My name is Logan Sanders. This company is mine." The ensuing silence was profound. Forklift engines hummed softly, and workers paused in their tracks. Rick's face lost all its color. Blake's lips parted, yet silence enveloped the moment. Logan initially faced me. "Are you okay?" She nodded in a daze, using the back of her sleeve to dry her tears. Logan directed his intense gaze toward Blake. "Your services are no longer required." Without delay, Blake's expression contorted. "You can't just—" "I can," Logan interrupted, his voice as hard as steel. "And I have just accomplished that." Blake paused, a moment of stillness enveloping him, before he flung his gloves onto the concrete floor with a sharp slap. He then marched toward the exit, silence trailing behind him. Logan confronted Rick, who remained firmly planted in place. "And you, I have reviewed the documents you submitted. You were either oblivious to the events unfolding right in front of you, or you chose to conceal them." "Which one is it?" Rick stammered. "Things can get quite hectic. One cannot anticipate that I will oversee every minor detail." Logan narrowed his eyes. "I anticipate your guidance. You're dismissed as well." Whispers of shock spread among the workers. Rick scanned the room, his gaze searching for any sign of intervention, yet the stillness remained unbroken. With a swift motion, he cast his clipboard onto the table and trailed after Blake, the sound of his footsteps reverberating through the expansive area. Logan faced the astonished assembly of employees once more. "Everyone come closer," he called out, his voice echoing through the vast warehouse. A rough circle took shape, uncertainty etched upon their faces. I arrived incognito, driven by the need to uncover the truth with my own eyes. Logan started. "What I witnessed was simply intolerable. Everyone deserves respect and kindness. No one should endure bullying or be made to feel inferior. Starting today, this warehouse will operate under a new approach." He took a moment, allowing the words to resonate. "I'm introducing a fresh management team. Individuals who genuinely value both the employees and the quality of the work. Until that time, Daniel will take on the role of foreman." Daniel blinked, evidently taken by surprise. "Sir, you've truly earned it," Logan stated with conviction. "Your actions set the standard for others to follow. That is precisely what we require." A handful of employees shared looks of relief. For the first time since Logan's arrival, a smile graced Emily's face. Logan pressed on. "It's clear that many of you have been shouldering an extra burden. That transformation begins now. We will be fine-tuning our staffing levels to ensure that everyone has a manageable workload. If you ever find yourself feeling unsafe or disrespected, rest assured that you will have a direct line to corporate. No further grievances will vanish." He surveyed their expressions, noticing the glimmer of hope igniting in place of the fear that once resided there. Logan suggested a 30-minute break. "Compensation is due, you've rightfully earned it." As the crowd of workers began to scatter, their voices a mix of careful chatter, Logan took a moment to draw Daniel away from the throng. Logan stated, "The first priority is to compile a list of the most significant bottlenecks, highlighting areas where we are understaffed and where equipment is malfunctioning. Speak truthfully." Daniel nodded, his mind shifting into a mode of finding solutions. "We require an additional 2 pallet jacks, and the conveyor belt at Dock 3 is persistently jamming. This is the reason we consistently fall behind on shipments." "Excellent," Logan remarked. "Compile a complete list by the end of the day." He surveyed his surroundings, observing how the atmosphere was already transforming. Individuals glided with a sense of ease, their shoulders relaxed and free. Emily drew near, pausing. Momentarily, "Thank you," she murmured softly. "You didn't need to be thanked," Logan replied. "From the very beginning you were worthy of respect." As she strolled away, Logan's phone vibrated. Sasha was his executive assistant. "Logan," she spoke as he picked up the call. "We just received a call from Rick. He is considering legal action for what he believes to be an unjust dismissal." Logan let out a weary breath. "Inform the legal team to prepare and retrieve the employee file. I'm interested in finding out if there have been any prior complaints." Once the call ended, Logan remained in the center of the warehouse, observing the workers as they made their way back to their stations. A lengthy journey lay before us, with new team members to onboard, confidence to restore, and processes to revamp. For the first time in a long while, he experienced a sensation absent from his office tower, a sense of connection. With determination, he rolled up his sleeves, grasped a clipboard, and rejoined the team in their efforts. As the afternoon wore on, the warehouse's cadence transformed, yet the fissures remained too evident to be masked by mere goodwill. Logan sensed it in the deliberate, cautious manner of people's movements, the hesitations, and the ongoing second-guessing that months of ineffective guidance had etched into their behavior. Addressing the leadership was merely the initial step. The more profound injuries would require more time to mend. Logan discreetly guided Daniel away from the bustling crowd, finding a moment of privacy near the loading docks, where the conveyor belt emitted a sporadic rattle every few seconds. "Just tell me the truth," Logan said, gesturing towards the broken machine. "For how long has this been happening?" Daniel brushed his hands against his jeans. Perhaps 3 months or possibly 4. Maintenance requests were consistently overlooked. "We've been moving pallets by hand for half of the time," Logan pressed, his thumb to his temple, a gesture of contemplation. "That might explain our delays in meeting fulfillment rates. The system is flawed, not the individuals within it." Daniel gave a single nod before shifting his gaze to the distant end of the warehouse, where a cluster of workers grappled with unloading a truck that had been parked for nearly an hour. "More hands are needed," Daniel remarked. Last week, a few of the temporary workers decided to leave after Blake raised his voice at them on the floor. Logan trailed his eyes along the direction of his focus. "Understood. I will proceed with corporate fast-track hiring, avoiding temp agencies this time. Employees who are fully engaged and well-trained enjoy a sense of stability in their benefits." Daniel's eyebrows lifted slightly, yet he remained silent, offering only a brief nod before returning to assist. Logan dedicated the following hour to meticulously documenting equipment failures, identifying bottlenecks, and noting safety hazards. He noticed a damaged loading bay door that failed to close tightly, allowing frigid air to rush inside. A worker named Louis noted that they had been using duct tape to patch it up when it became problematic. Yet another warning sign. Across the floor, Emily arranged boxes onto pallets with a meticulousness that captured Logan's attention. She navigated with both speed and caution, scrutinizing every label with meticulous attention. As he drew near, she looked up, wary. "Logan, remarked that you have a solid system. I handled inventory at my previous job," Emily said, giving a casual shrug. "I thought that if no one else was going to take the initiative, I might as well step up and do it myself." "What's the duration of your stay here?" he inquired. She mentioned 5 months. It seems to stretch on. Logan jotted down a note. "Would you be open to assisting with inventory oversight in a part-time supervisory capacity, temporarily for the time being until we undergo restructuring?" Emily paused, her grip on the pallet jack handle growing firmer. "I'm uncertain. I have yet to take on a managerial role." Logan stated that you aren't overseeing individuals. "You are in control of the process. I will ensure you receive the assistance you need." After a moment's pause, Emily gave a nod. "Very well, I shall give it a go." As he navigated the warehouse, Logan felt the weight of exhaustion creeping in. The worker's shoulders drooped, the tempo diminished. He was unable to exert more pressure on them, not without additional support. From a secluded nook at the rear of the warehouse, he dialed Sasha's number. "I require immediate staffing," Logan stated upon answering. "Please advise HR to give priority to this location. A minimum of 5 full-time hires. Experience in a warehouse setting is preferred." Sasha responded, "I'll take care of it." "Is there anything more?" "Indeed," Logan remarked. "Please arrange for a maintenance crew to be sent out tomorrow morning. This location is deteriorating rapidly." After he ended the call, he spotted Daniel, overseeing a team at the receiving docks. Daniel was actively handling the pallets, not merely directing others. That was significant. Logan moved in closer. "How bad's the backlog?" Daniel asked, wiping his forehead. "We find ourselves trailing by 2 trucks. We can wrap this up by the end of the shift if we really put in the effort." Logan surveyed the weary expressions. "No shoving. We take the necessary precautions to ensure safety in our actions." "I'm not exhausting anyone," Daniel insisted. He made a few tweaks to the plan. Later, Logan noticed a fresh presence, a lean, middle-aged man with a clipboard tucked under his arm, addressing a group of workers near the racking aisle with a sharp tone. Logan failed to identify him. He edged nearer, grasping the tail end of a sentence. "Unmotivated youngsters. You believe you deserve something merely for being present." The man, adorned with a company badge that marked him as Supervisor Brent, cast a fierce glare at the workers, as though they had committed a personal affront against him. 2 young employees, barely in their 20s, stood still, their faces flushed and their voices lost. Logan quietly approached Brent, slipping in beside him before he was even aware of his presence. "Is there an issue here?" Logan inquired. Brent hardly acknowledged him, merely holding them responsible, a group of idlers. Logan extended his hand. "Hand. Over your badge," Brent said, blinking in surprise. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Logan said, his voice low yet resolute. "Badge, please." Brent paused, caught in the weight of Logan's gaze, before he swiftly tore the badge from his lanyard and pressed it into Logan's hand. Logan slipped it into his pocket, his gaze unwavering. "Your time here is complete, forever." Brent's lips contorted. "Your decision to terminate my employment for fulfilling my responsibilities is perplexing." Logan replied, "No. Your employment is terminated due to your disrespect towards employees, the hostile work environment you fostered, and your violations of company policy. Gather your belongings and depart." Brent grumbled softly to himself and marched off in the direction of the exit. The two young workers shared a glance yet remained silent. Logan faced them. He stated that "You are not slackers. Your work is being carried out in extremely challenging circumstances. Things are bound to improve. I give you my promise." Silence enveloped them, yet one offered a subtle nod before immersing back into their task. As evening fell, the warehouse hummed with a distinct energy, still tense yet now infused with a sense of hopeful anticipation. Workers advanced with a heightened sense of determination. Discussions ignited that transcended mere anxieties about errors. Logan assembled the whole team just before the end of the shift. "I understand today was challenging," he remarked, positioning himself on a wooden pallet to ensure he was visible. "You've been navigating through flawed frameworks and ineffective guidance. That stops here." He allowed the words to linger in the air for a moment. "Tomorrow we will be closing for half a day. Compensated. The maintenance teams are arriving. The equipment is undergoing repairs. Safety equipment is being updated. Following that, we will be reconstructing operations based on your feedback." Whispers flowed among the crowd. Logan continued, stating that "We will be bringing on new full-time employees. Participation in training will be required for all individuals. It's time to stop throwing individuals into challenging situations without guidance and expecting them to thrive." He surveyed the expressions before him, embraced the unknown with a sense of wonder, anticipation. Anyone who believes their role is to undermine others or exert control rather than support and elevate them does not belong in this organization. Stillness. Suddenly, Daniel's voice emerged from the crowd. "We are prepared to begin," he stated. "All we sought was a gaze that acknowledged our presence." Logan gave a single nod. "I acknowledge your presence, and I intend to stay right here." As the workers divided into smaller clusters, collecting their belongings and engaging in hushed conversations, Logan lingered behind, observing and absorbing the scene. It hasn't been resolved yet. Far from it. The spirit was delicate. Have even greater faith. The logistics needed a complete revamp. Hiring practices were documented. Standards upheld with unwavering diligence. For the first time in ages, Logan felt more like a tangible presence rather than a remote leader isolated in a glass tower. He was present. He witnessed it firsthand. Now, he had a responsibility to them and to his father's legacy to set things straight. The following morning, Logan reached the warehouse ahead of everyone else. He observed from the main floor as the maintenance crews arrived with their equipment and tool carts. Flashes of light erupted from welding torches as damaged guardrails were mended, forklift engines received meticulous adjustments, and the worn conveyor belt was taken apart for a comprehensive overhaul. The atmosphere was infused with the scent of fresh paint and machine oil, a stark contrast to the usual chill of concrete and the weight of fatigue. By 7, the crew started to arrive, their eyes widening at the sight of the maintenance team bustling around the area. Logan had remained true to his promise. The warehouse remained closed until noon, with workers receiving pay during the repairs. Some lingered uncertainly by the break room, unsure of their next move. Logan gestured for Daniel to come closer, who was now adorned in a reflective vest to indicate his temporary position of leadership. Logan suggested we arrange a meeting in the open area near the loading docks. A brief conversation. They must be informed about what comes next. Daniel acknowledged and began assembling the group. Logan observed the workers as they moved with a newfound ease, still cautious but no longer anticipating a strike. As the crowd gathered, Logan once more ascended the wooden pallet, clipboard firmly in hand. To start, he said, his voice steady, "I appreciate your perseverance yesterday. I understand it was challenging." A subtle wave of movement swept through the crowd as feet shuffled and baseball caps were adjusted. "We're reconstructing this warehouse with precision," Logan continued. "This signifies improved tools, enhanced personnel, and stronger guidance. For the time being, Daniel and Emily will take charge of managing daily operations. They have demonstrated their understanding of what this place requires." He noticed Emily's surprised expression among the crowd and offered her a subtle nod. She squared her shoulders, embracing the responsibility with quiet resolve. Logan mentioned that a corporate HR representative will be arriving this afternoon. Private feedback sessions will be conducted. If you have thoughts to share, whether positive or negative, you'll find a welcoming space to express them. A handful. 5 heads inclined in agreement. Logan crossed his arms. "It's important to acknowledge that we can't resolve all issues in an instant, and I won't pretend otherwise. It will take a few weeks to build the team. The equipment may not be flawless by tomorrow, but we will continue to stay in touch. Enough with the speculation. It's time for clarity." With a subtle lift of his hand, Daniel caught Logan's attention, who then invited him to share his thoughts. "A training session would be beneficial," Daniel remarked. "Many individuals have never received adequate safety training." Logan took note and confirmed, "A certified trainer will be here within 72 hours. He cast a quick look at the maintenance crews diligently reassembling the conveyor belt. "Take pleasure in the tranquility until midday. Stroll through the space if you wish. Observe the transformations taking place. At noon, we'll have a gentle shift, nothing too intense, sufficient to ensure the flow of shipments continues." As the meeting concluded, Logan descended and spotted Emily examining a clipboard by the freshly mended loading dock doors. Logan inquired about your feelings regarding the new role. "I'm feeling a bit anxious," Emily confessed, fiddling with her ponytail, "but I really want to contribute." "You already are," Logan stated. "Begin with conducting inventory audits. I need to have a precise understanding of what is present on these shelves." She acknowledged him with a nod and departed with the silent precision he had grown accustomed to. Close to the receiving area, Logan spotted Lewis examining the freshly installed dock seals. The young man gazed upward, taken aback. "These are really effective now," Lewis remarked, gliding his hand over the snug rubber seams. "Those should have been resolved months ago," Logan replied. "It's not ideal to rely on temporary fixes." Lewis let out a soft, heartfelt chuckle. "It seems as though someone is truly paying attention at last." Logan replied with a straightforward assertion, "Because I am." A call from the distant corner of the warehouse drew his focus. A maintenance worker gestured for him to come closer. Logan sprinted across the floor, boots pounding against the concrete. The worker gestured with urgency, guiding him toward a locked storage room adjacent to the supervisor's former office, insisting, "You need to see this." With a deft twist, he coaxed the door open using a master key. Within, Logan felt a churn in his stomach. It was a collection of discarded machinery, malfunctioning pallet jacks, damaged helmets, and worn-out gloves that were long overdue for replacement. Rather, it had been concealed. On a desk, he discovered a clipboard filled with maintenance requests labeled as closed, yet it was evident that they had never been addressed. Logan's jaw clenched. They had been more than merely incompetent. They had been diligently concealing issues. He captured images of everything. This would serve as documentation for HR and legal purposes. By noon, the maintenance teams completed their tasks. The conveyor belt now hummed with a steady rhythm, the dock doors firmly sealed against the outside elements, and the warehouse lights radiated with an intensified brilliance. The workers assembled once more, prepared to take on the challenges of the afternoon shift. Logan maintained a cheerful atmosphere, concentrating on straightforward activities like sorting, basic pallet transfers, and preparing outgoing orders. He collaborated with them, assisting Daniel in arranging the dock lanes and personally transporting boxes. Sweat beaded at the nape of his neck beneath the harsh fluorescent glow, yet he remained unfazed. He noticed the way the workers looked at him, not with apprehension, but with an increasing sense of confidence. As Logan stacked boxes, he noticed Mia beside him, the young woman who had faced Blake's humiliation just 2 days prior. "Are you doing okay?" Logan inquired softly. She nodded, tightening her hold on a box. "Improved. Things have changed." Logan presented her with a shipping label. "If you ever sense that something isn't quite right, don't hesitate to reach out to me, or Daniel. Immediate action. No one is going to overlook this." Mia smiled, a subtle yet genuine expression. "Thank you." As the shift progressed, Logan observed the inherent leaders beginning to surface. Lewis diligently monitored safety practices. Emily intercepted a misidentified pallet just before it was set to leave. Without a moment's pause, Daniel leaped into action when a truck driver misunderstood the dock assignment. By 6 o'clock, they had successfully processed 2 shipments, surpassing Logan's careful expectations. He declared it the end of the day, urging everyone to return home and recharge. Once the workers departed, Logan settled into the supervisor's empty desk, now devoid of its former clutter, and retrieved his notebook. He crafted a list. Engage 5 full-time warehouse associates, ensuring they are certified in safety training. Schedule the installation of permanent HR feedback systems across all warehouses. Implement mandatory quarterly audits for the warehouses and establish a leadership retraining program for all managers. His pen came to a halt. Another point to consider. Maintain your connections, no longer managing the company from afar. He shut the notebook with a decisive motion. As he secured the warehouse for the evening, Logan cast a final glance around. The place still reeked of machine oil and fresh paint, yet it now bore an additional essence: hope. He understood that the journey ahead would be challenging, yet for the first time in ages, he felt he was precisely where he belonged, and he was determined to take on the hard work himself from now on.